Yeah, I just have to wrestle a lot.
You got the basketball tournament?
Probably.
You do stuff with them every once in a while. I wouldn't say routine, but
That looks familiar. I remember this. It's just funny because,
Our first meeting without Jim. Wow.
and I need to.
Yeah, I didn't text you back then. Wow.
Yeah, it's like,
that's always interesting when you realize that. Yeah, inside of your sphere.
Old friend.
Home.
Oh, yes.
That's what I felt. We're ready whenever you're ready.
No, Wednesday night works for you.
Yeah, great.
Okay. All right, well, we'll figure it out. Thank you all for being here tonight. Welcome to the April 8th City Council meeting for the City of Philomath. We will first get started with a roll call.
Jessica Andrade. Present. Ruth Posey. Here. Diane Cocker.
here.
Matt Lehman.
Here.
Christopher McMorrin.
Here.
Teresa Nielsen. And Chaz Jones.
And I am here. It's crazy. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Teresa, we might have to tone this down a little bit.
I'm going to read the proclamation in Spanish.
Oh, nice.
Well, thank you. Tonight on the agenda, we have celebration Arbor Day, and we see a number of folks in the audience, all here because of their love of trees. And one report. Trees always here. Also, celebrating Library Week. We have an opportunity for public comments. So anybody interested in public comments, feel free to say a few words. We have our consent agenda, and then in new business, we're going to be discussing the City Council's booth in the Farmers Market this summer and fall. And then we also are going to be talking about the 16th Street Improvement, South 16th Street Improvement Project. We have a couple of resolutions, one or ordinances, one relates to resolutions related to the mitigation plan and the state parks recreation grant we applied for. And we have a management. So, but first we're going to get started with proclamation and celebrating Arbor Day. And we have a proclamation that we like to reaffirm each year. And we'll have Councilor Posey read that.
Thank you. This is City of Philomath Proclamation 24-07 Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the City of Philomath is recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and to continue its tree planting practices. Now, therefore, Chaz Jones, Mayor of the City of Philomath, does hereby proclaim April 26, 2024 as Arbor Day in the City of Philomath and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, we urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generation.
Thank you so much, Councilor Cousins. And this is a real special year for, at least for me, and this my opportunity to actually next award or see the presentation of recognizing that the city of Philomath has been Tree City USA for 30 years now.
We haven't voted yet.
That is, we don't need a vote on that one.
The proclamation?
Yeah, that one was just the mayor. And so we're going to have an awarding ceremony by the ODF. Brittany, here to award the 30-year award to the city.
There are cameras right here that we can see. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Okay, carry on. Get in as close as we can. There we go. 1, 2, 3 trees. There we go. Got it. Great.
Williams flag says 30 years on it.
And where will that go?
What's that?
Where is it going to?
This will go on the east end of town as you're coming in. On the big one.
Wonderful, wonderful.
We have a new signage. What's going to happen here?
Those will get mounted as you come into Philomath on both ends of town.
Nice.
Wonderful. And then we now have a resolution 2408. Declaring, we had 3 nominations for heritage trees, and now we have the opportunity to recognize or to adopt 2 additional trees into our heritage tree program. So Kevin, or Gary, want to discuss this?
We had 3 trees that were nominated this year. Out of that, 2 were selected. The one at the cemetery out on the east end of town, and then a tree in Ponderosa Pine up on North 7th.
Excellent. And North 7th Street is on city property?
City right away, yeah.
Do we have a motion? Councilor Cosmo?
I move to adopt resolution 2408 designating 2024 heritage trees.
I'll second that.
Excellent. We have a motion made by Councilor Causey and seconded by an enthusiastic Councilor Gates. Any further discussion? Councilor McMorrin.
Just from our heritage tree meeting, there was also a group of trees submitted that were Douglas firs, and the committee decided to table that submission because we were hoping there, for the sake of the heritage tree program, there may be a Douglas fir that was a better example of sort of like a prime Douglas fir. Since it's a state tree and everything, we thought it would be good to have one included, but we weren't sure that the specific ones that were submitted necessarily were sort of like the perfect Douglas fir. So the point being, if you all see a Douglas fir in and around town that strikes you as the prime example of a Douglas fir, please bring that to the committee because we are in search of the perfect Douglas fir.
No.
Yes. Brad, I want that in the paper.
Competition to find.
Yeah,
the
sure.
iconic
I don't know what you win, but,
Andy.
but yes, so that was just the one little piece of context I wanted.
Well, thank you for that. Councilor Cosmo.
This point of clarification, the tree does not have to be within the city limits.
Yes.
It can be in and around Philomath or significant.
Yes.
Right. Well, these 2 trees are quite impressive. So, thank you very much for the nomination. Any further discussion? No? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Made the motion.
Second, enthusiastically by.
That's right.
And we have a couple of different plaques. And we have Kyle from the cemetery, Mount Union Cemetery here. To accept this plaque, regarding the big league name. Kyle, thank you. And the second, have a plaque here for the city of Philomath. Well, who wants to accept this?
You give it to Gary.
Gary? He never likes to stand up in front of people.
First time.
Gary? And then we happen to have a Heritage Tree Hero of the Year award that goes to Gianna.
Talking for them, that's okay?
Absolutely. Please do.
Sure. So I'm here wearing a couple of different hats, but for those of you that don't know me, my name is Brittany Oxford. I'm a community assistance forester with the Urban and Community Forestry Department for the state, but I'm also on the Heritage Tree Committee for the state. And I'm here to give you your award. Yeah. So on behalf of the Travel Information Council and the Oregon Heritage Tree Committee, it's my pleasure to present an Oregon Heritage Tree Hero of the Year award to one of your own. You'll probably not be surprised to learn that Oregon had the first state-sponsored heritage tree program in the country. Several other states followed in our footsteps, but we were the first. The program was founded in 1995 by the original heritage tree hero, Maynard Drawson. The goal of the program is to educate the public and increase awareness about the importance of trees in Oregon's history and cultures. The Heritage Tree Hero is designated to honor the work of people who contribute to their local communities by educating about and advocating for heritage trees. Today, we are here to honor Gianna Bernardini for her outstanding work in this realm. We're excited to learn that Gianna has been the driving force behind the creation of the City of Philomath's Heritage Tree Program. She worked steadily from her first letter to the City Council in December 2021 and the inception of the new program in March 2023. During that time, Gianna gathered information, ideas, images, and examples from other city tree programs, helped craft criteria, and ultimately resigned from her position on the Planning Commission to apply for an appointment to the Tree Board. In her application to the Tree Advisory Board, she wrote, "I moved to this area because I love the forests, and I love this town because of the trees. I'm a strong believer in the ability of an urban forest to improve livability, benefit the environment, and increase overall joy in a community. Many thanks to Gianna for her leadership in creating a local heritage tree program. On behalf of the Oregon Heritage Tree Committee, I'm honored to present a 2024 Heritage Tree Hero Award to Gianna Bernardini, who understands that trees can be the best storytellers of our histories, our cultures, and our ways of life."
Well, geez.
Well, the limb of it. I'll explain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Former heritage.
We need place. Enthusiastic. Wait till the end of the meeting. It's gonna be like.
And you're good. Teresa, some more candy.
Yeah, that's what she. My gosh, keep that away from her.
Watch out. I'll take some.
Say it to the speaker.
Thank you, Gianna. And then we would like to recognize Library Week and let's change.
Yeah.
And here we have a resolution that we could, if we have a motion to.
And
Okay, we have a motion made by Counselor McMorrin and seconded by Counselor Andrade. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously, and we have enthusiastic Counselor Nielsen that has volunteered to read this.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. City of Philomath Resolution 2406, proclaiming National Library Week. Whereas libraries offer the opportunity for everyone to connect with others, learn new skills, and pursue their passions, no matter where they are on life's journey. And whereas libraries have long served as trusted institutions, striving to ensure equitable access to information and services for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. And whereas libraries adapt to the ever-changing needs of their communities, developing and expanding collections, programs, and services that are as diverse as the populations they serve. And whereas libraries play a pivotal role in economic development by providing resources and support for job seekers, entrepreneurs, and small businesses, thus contributing to local prosperity and growth. And whereas libraries are treasured institutions that preserve our collective heritage and knowledge, safeguarding both physical and digital resources for present and future generations. And whereas libraries are an essential public good and fundamental institutions in democratic societies, working to improve society, protect the right to education and literacy, and promote the free exchange of information and ideas for all. And whereas residents of Philomath came together in the early 1990s to build the Philomath Community Library with extensive volunteer work, local fundraising, and assistance from state and federal leaders and the Oregon National Guard. And whereas since its opening in 1995, the Philomath Community Library has been a beloved institution for children, families, and adults in Philomath and surrounding rural areas, providing access to knowledge and connection to others. And whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Philomath proclaims April 7th through the 13th, 2024 to be the Library Week in the City of Philomath. And be it further resolved that we encourage all residents to visit the Philomath Community Library and other local libraries and to celebrate the adventures and opportunities they unlock for us every day.
Thank you, Councilor Nielsen. So thank you very much for that. And I was, so next we're gonna move into public comment. And I was going to invite you, you don't have to stick around unless you're really. Well, you're not gonna hear anybody. But is anybody here to submit public comment? Going once? I know, I was just trying to encourage them. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jana. Thank you. With that, we have a couple, we have minutes from the city council on our consent agenda and the work session note. We have a motion to approve.
so moved. Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda from Councilor Andrade, seconded by Councilor Cosby. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
I,
Motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to move on to new business. We're going to be discussing the farmers market city council booth. Chris, or Jonathan?
Yeah, I can touch on it. It's just informational, no action needed. Just letting you know, farmers market's right around the corner, which is exciting. We do have the What's Up Flow with Canopy that will be have available to the council members. If you want to have the booth, I know there's at least a few of these dates that the planning commission would like to be there to do some public outreach on some of the zone changes and things, but for the most part, want to give the city council kind of first crack. So I'll get a link out to everybody probably tomorrow. And the idea would be, I think I put in the sign up sheet itself, just sign up for like every third week at the most, just to allow time for everybody else to have an opportunity rather than sign up like week after week after week. So I figured about, if you sign up about every 3 weeks, that gives everybody an opportunity to take a chance. And if we get, 2 days before, 3 days before, and nobody else is filled in, then feel free to hop on there. So this will be a live link that anybody can go in there and edit and just drop your name in there. If you've got another council member who wants to staff the tent with you, that'd be fine. They could be a counselor number 2 spot. And then whatever potential topic you'd like to talk about, I would drop that in as well, just so people know, other council members know what's been talked about already and what's still out there. It's not limited to these topics, but we would recommend that you go with something in mind to talk about. Staff can help you in preparing some materials, display boards. We just obviously need a little bit of notice as well. So kind of coordinate with us once you've figured out what weekend you'd like to be in the canopy. Let staff know if you need any assistance or need any help with things. And then, as we've done in years past, we'll have the canopy and the table and stuff out here for you to be able to access Sunday morning. I think the last thing I was going to put, and again, it's on there, just be mindful. We're going to have a campaign season this year. Just make sure they're not doing any personal campaigning for yourself or for others. This is really meant to be an informational booth where you can collect information and provide information. If you start getting asked campaign questions, just actually say, hey, contact me directly outside of this. And just be very open with people. We're not campaigning. This is just informational. We just don't want to get anybody we don't want anybody being upset at anybody else. So just make sure they're very neutral there. And having a topic will help with that a little bit too. No handing out campaign signs or buttons or any of that stuff at the city's politically neutral yet. So any questions?
Councilor Clark.
do you have a board or something that designates that we are counselors? I did it once last summer and nobody knew who we were. They were frightened of us at first, but then
Ahead of time, so then they just won't even come and talk.
it just seems like if we're just sitting at a table, people aren't going to just walk.
We can come up with something, yeah.
And I have one other comment. I'm not very tall. It was difficult to get the canopy up, so I would recommend that you get taller help or a few people to do it.
Well, I wasn't allowed to sign up every week, so.
It's seriously, my husband was there to help me and we struggled until he got it. It was not an easy thing to put up. Oh, it might be a different one this year though.
It's the same one.
I'm not sure which one you used last year. It's not the police one that we were using, it's the one with
That'll still be.
Just saying, yeah, just so people plan ahead and are aware of that.
Get a milk crate.
That's kind of an idea.
Won't break your neck.
Put your stuff in it.
I will just say you can pop everything up other than do the legs last is helpful. If you do the canopy part first and get that all up, and then the last thing you do is to raise the legs up, that helps a lot. If you do the legs first, then yeah, it's going to be too tall for you to get up there. So it might just be the order it's going in, but your point's well taken. Try to get a partner or somebody to help you. And there's typically volunteers around in the morning. The other farmers and other folks are there to ask for help as well.
A couple things. The first, just about Counselor Coffee. Our plan right now is to have the one this month be the last one, and then we'll just do the farmers market over the summer because they kind of play the same role. But I think I've heard from Counselor Nielsen about wanting to do Counselor Coffee this month. If anyone else would like to,
What's the date?
well, maybe not. It's 4/20.
The funeral.
So let me know. I also can't be there because I will be out of town for work. So it'd be cool if someone could be there. But just let me know. And then the one other thing that I think we had talked about a little bit was just wanting to re-up the discussion I think we had like last fall, just in passing, of if we want to also have a presence like music in the parks or something like that that's not just the Sunday farmers market, partially for folks who may not be able to participate on Sunday, and just music in the park is a pretty well-attended community event, and it might be good to try to have some council representation there if folks want to chat. So I just wanted to bring that back up as a thought, or even if we just do the Thursday music in the parks, since we do this on the Sundays or something. But I don't know if you'd want to like add that to the sheet as an option or something, Chris. But yeah, that's just the last thing.
Thank you. Excellent. So as informational, next, let's talk about the South 15th Street project. Kevin?
Kevin will do that. Kevin, you want to come up so we can pick up on the microphone again?
Good evening. Good evening.
Seeming incomplete. Last week, Tuesday, we opened bids for the 16th, South 16th Street road extension and the 16th, 17th, and 18th Street sewer improvement project. Bids were a little higher than what we hoped to see. The first tier, or the first low bidder, Wordinger Excavating, failed to complete their bid by turning in their first tier subcontractor list. So it went to the second runner-up, which happened to be Mid-Valley Gravel. We've done a lot of work with Mid-Valley, so we're very confident that this is well and easily within their abilities, and look forward to working with them. If you don't know, the South 16th project is the improvement of South 16th from Applegate south to about the Public Works yard. That will take a change at the end and swing up and go up to 17th and Cedar Street. It's also going to put sidewalk both sides of the street, curb and gutter and everything, so it should make 16th Street a lot safer. Have through traffic for the kids, or for the parents dropping off kids, I guess, grade school and not driving yet. They'll be able to go up 17th and also be able to access 18th, 19th, be able to come back in either way. So it should really alleviate a lot of the traffic problems and safety issues that are happening there. The finance director and the city manager were able to make a few changes to the capital improvement plan that is included in the project, postpone a few of the other projects so we could move forward with the construction of both these projects. So I can answer any questions or maybe a motion that's
Out to the point.
I don't know if it's a question or just a comment, but like $800,000 of difference over the estimate seems notable. Like I just, I don't really know, I guess, what the point of an estimate is then if we're like 20% higher than 27% higher. So I don't know if that's a question that you can answer, but I was a little disheartened to see that. And then I guess, can you just walk us through I was a little confused which of the projects will be postponed on the capital improvement plan, if someone can walk us through that.
The revisions, I item D is missing.
You wanna start with streets?
Sure.
So on street, we had to put additional money towards 16th Street. We increased because the overall project went up, the SDC money that can go towards the project also went up, so we were able to pull additional SDC improvement funds there. Also reserve the 17th Street was the crossing at 17th and Main was the other project that we had on for this year. We were still looking to do some fundraising for that, see if we can find a grant or something. But even with that, we would need to have a match. And so we've essentially bumped that project out to 25-26. That's still going to require going after a grant to do that because we'll only have some funding for that project, but not all of it. So that's the soonest delayed project that we're going to see. Instead of doing it this year, it'll be punted out till 25-26. And then the next one you'll see on here, the 19th Street, Main and College, that got bumped out to 25-26 as well. 13th Street will still go through this year because we've already purchased those and they're essentially in the works already. So that will still go through 24-25. And then there's a handful, I think 3 or 4 transportation system plan projects that were listed. Those are smaller in scope. Those we are going to do 25-26 and they'll be out to 26-27.
And are we expecting an increase on that 13th Street project comparable to the 27% increase of this one?
No, those have already been purchased and we've got bid already on I believe we've got set out for bid still, the installation of 13th Street lights.
Not yet.
Not yet. So it's much smaller in scale. It's mostly electric work, so keep fingers crossed. I mean, it could come back, but I think I've got a little more confidence in those numbers.
We do have a recent estimate confirmation, we want to see if we can get something less. So the cost for the installation, you're confident, just recently, like a month ago.
I think, Gary, you got an updated one today, correct? Our computer's been down, so
Okay.
we've been fighting that. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I think it was, you want a number estimate?
It's
Not as
what it was before. I think it's,
Do you know how long ago the original estimate was that we received on this project, or we developed that estimate?
A year ago?
I think you mean the 16th Street project? The 16th Street
Oh,
project?
16. 22?
Okay, so there's been a lot of price volatility since then. Yeah. Counselor Cocker?
I've got 2. One is, do you know completion date or an estimate? How long does this take for the 16th Street project?
They can start as early as May. You have to have it completed by October 15th. And they have a window of which they cannot work while school's in. So they pretty much have to do everything around school.
School hours?
And when the school year, when school lets out for the summer, they'll be able to move into 16th and work on 16th. They might be able to do some very minimal work along there, but basically we're keeping them out of the school area. Or the
So
school.
they have to have the school area done by September,
Yes,
not October.
and the whole project by the 15th.
And my second question, and this may not be related, and I apologize. A citizen talked to me about a crosswalk, I think it was at 15th and Applegate. Has that happened, or is that in this plan, or?
We can only put down heat tape when the temperatures are consistent, well, not necessarily consistent. They can't drop below a certain temperature, right, Gary? So as soon as we get some warmer weather that holds for a little bit longer, we'll be out putting that down.
Thank you.
Counselor Whitmore?
I had a question on the postponement of the North 19th Main Street to College. I thought the rush on that was that the county was going to be tearing that all up. soon, so how do we postpone that?
Well, it'll be like this time next year, so it'll be the 25-26 budget. It'll just be done closer to when the county's in doing the work.
Okay,
And I may misspoke. I don't know that's actually getting postponed. I think that one and the 17th crossing, we're still gonna try to get the funding for 25-26. Excuse me, we'll still try to get the matching funding, the grant funding for 17th Street. The 19th Street project, the $120,000, that one will happen next year, 25-26, before the county comes through. That's our portion of the county's project essentially.
and the county's fine with that,
Yeah, that's when the county will be there, is 25-26.
okay.
One thing I'll mention is that if for some reason we think, oh, we don't really wanna do this right now, it's almost guaranteed that the prices are only gonna go up.
Right, but that's the same with everything with postponing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we have to.
Kinda,
Which is a priority, right?
right.
Councilor Nielsen?
I was wondering, can you explain how that deadline works on October 15th? If they choose not to get it finished, is there something that will occur if they choose not to finish the project on time? Or is it just the way it is?
That is their goal, they take into different accounts and obviously if they find other issues or something that leads to a change order that changes the scope of the work a little bit, they're usually awarded a few extra days. Same if, they started in and all of a sudden hit a lot of rock and they had to move up to bigger excavators with, rock crushers and do something like that that's taking them more time. That's nothing that anybody could foresee, so they'd be awarded extra days to finish that. But other than that, it's really just kind of an arbitrary number that the engineer picks out. Says it should take about this long under normal circumstances and calculates about how many days. And then if they're not done by that time, then liquidated damages, usually about $500 a day.
And do they notify you when those extra days are awarded? Do they say we need 5 extra days because of the rock?
Oh yeah, it's all negotiated.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilor Rodriguez?
To clarify, on the revision notes, it says increased Campo request 30,000 for 16th Street project. So, like, do they not have a set amount for the project? Like, I guess I'm a little confused as to where that is coming from, or if that was supposed to say something related to like the SDC that I believe you had mentioned related to that project.
Are you talking about the plus 80,000 from 16 people in parentheses?
For B, it says revision notes B, increased Campo request 30,000 for 16th Street project. So that, my question is like, do they have the 30,000? What happens if they don't have the $30,000? What is our fallback plan?
We'll be short $30,000.
But like, in order to, I guess, like how are we, I don't know, am I missing something about like how we would pay for whatever, like we're hoping to have pay for it?
Yeah, we'll be asking for that additional funding. There's a lot of internal movement on those budgets and where money goes and what projects end up costing. So I would say it's not uncommon to have changes and requests for funding amounts within Campo, within our region. Mm-hmm. So I'm very confident we'll be able to get that extra 30,000. Confident enough to
put it in there.
Put it in here.
Okay, thank you. That was my well, where will it come from if we don't get it?
There are no guarantees. There are no guarantees.
Councilor Moore?
It's been a second. It's gone. It'll come back to me.
Councilor Cogburn?
Could you go over the water and sewer postponements as well?
Water actually came in a little under our projected budget, so we didn't have to make any revisions to water. It was just sandwiched in between street and sewer, and it was a key part of the project. We included that sheet, but no revisions there. On the sewer, you'll see that
There's a D, there's a letter D on there. Street extension, but there's no note for it down at the bottom. That's what I had, it looks like, Mike has
Oh, hey, Mike.
something to say.
Yeah, Mike?
He's muted. You're muted, Mike.
An accident?
We're not muted, are we?
Chris, did you have any,
No, we're not.
Chris, did you have anything about this?
No, I mean like our audio on the TV.
I don't believe that D is
Here we go.
a real thing. As far as I know, no changes were made to water, at least in the versions I got. Kevin, did you remember any changes to water?
I don't know there's a reason to, so.
Okay.
And then
And then you wanted to finish the conversation about sewer?
Sure. So in sewer, 7th to 18th Street, the increase was noted there. And then we've reallocated portions of South 19th Street over to 25 and 26th. So that's been bumped out. That project will probably span multiple years, 24, 25, and 25, 26. So we've pushed more of it into the 25, 26.
yeah,
A little bit of a guessing game on how much the project will get done before the end of June and how much will get done after July 1st. So on this one, we've essentially just reallocated more of that project to happen after July 1st. It doesn't change the end numbers for the end of 24, or excuse me, end of 25, 26. That reserve number is going to be the same, but it does allow us to zero out for 24, 25's budget rather than be negative.
Right. Counselor Cocker?
I had a question that was, when is the generator gonna be installed for Starlight Village?
we're looking at probably August. By the time we get it.
And it hasn't arrived yet? Okay. It was 9 months or whatever, but I didn't know how long.
Counselor McMorrin?
Came back to me. It's not that important of a question. I was just, as far as the timeline, like what will be happening from the beginning of the school year to like if the deadline is October 15th, but they're not supposed to work while this all school's happening, there's like a month and a half of overlap at the beginning of the project. Is that just like
The other end maybe, huh?
finishing up like, oh, okay.
That'll do most of the sewer work and they can do some of the, ADA ramps on some.
Okay.
And some of that stuff, it's just not directly in.
Yeah.
Traffic lines.
Okay.
Or more backups or. Cool.
Thank you. We do have a recommended motion.
Action. One double.
Counselor Pelley?
I move the city council award the South 17th and sanitary sewer improvement project to Mid Valley Gravel and the additional appropriate.
We have a motion made by Counselor Crosby, seconded by Counselor Nielsen. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And there is a second motion regarding the capital improvement plan.
I move the city council approve the presented amendments to the 2024
We have a motion made by Counselor Crosby, seconded by Counselor Nielsen. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. So thank you very much for that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Next, we have, we're moving on to ordinances and resolutions, and we have resolution 2409 adopting the 2024 Benton County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan. Who wants to discuss this?
I think we was Chelsea.
Chelsea's up.
Okay, so way back in August of 2022, I brought a resolution forward to the city council for staff to work on the natural hazards mitigation plan update within county. So a number of us participated, kind of on and off, but Gary Black, Kevin Fear, Chris Workman, and myself, and then there were some other Philomath partners too. The fire department participated, and as well as all the other communities that are listed on the resolution. So this resolution is for the city to say that we are in support of adopting the overall Benton County plan, of which we have our Philomath addendum. And it's been sent to FEMA and they have approved it, contingent on the communities that are in here adopting resolutions like this one. So the recommendation is pass this. It replaces the older version that I believe that it's expired. So we now have an expired plan. This allows us to apply for FEMA funding and do projects that would mitigate natural hazards. So try to prevent natural hazards from happening. So it's good work, good funding that we can get in Benton County.
Excellent. And we have a question for Andrade.
Yeah, I'm sure it is excellent work. I do feel weird about adopting something that I have not seen. Are there any risks to adopting it without, like, you know, having seen it legally, etc.?
No, I think it's more, it's a support. It's that our community is supporting this. Technically, it's Benton County's plan. We're invited to participate in it because we're communities in Benton County and they obviously want to hear from us and our unique, you know, natural hazard. We're all unique, right? Like Ren has differences than we have here. So I would say no, this is the way that they presented it. So DLCD presented it this way, like here it is, give this to your council, get this adopted, send it in. So at this point, I mean, FEMA has approved the plan, so that whole planning process has already taken place. So for our community to say we, you know, if you did review it and say we don't like this thing, that would be probably a big problem for Benton County as a whole. So I think when we did the, you know, the resolution in 2022, it basically was saying, please, you know, bring forward the steering committee from the city of Philomath staff and the other organizations and make this happen. So we've done that with DLCD and a lot of other partners. So
Had to verify that. Thank
yeah,
you.
I think it's a very good question.
And
Councilman Warren.
Where is it?
So the current plan that is expired, but it is the current plan that we operate off of, is on Benton County's website. We do have a link on, I believe it's maybe under our police department page, but we have an emergency management page on the city website, and there's a link to it on there. So if you go to.
And what about this new one?
This one has not been like published yet. It's basically, they finished the draft, they sent it to FEMA. You know, we as staff have seen the final draft and signed off on, yes, that looks like everything is in there, as did all the other organizations that were listed on here.
I mean, I'm sure it's wonderful. I do kind of agree with Councilor Andrade. It feels weird voting in support of something I have not seen and is nowhere.
Fair.
So I don't know, like, could we table this until next meeting and look at it?
If we did it this month, I'm not sure what their timeline is what I'm gonna say, but I think if we got it, tried to get it back by the end of this month.
Okay.
That's probably still fair.
I would prefer that personally, but I don't know if anyone else feels that way.
The only thing I'll mention is that if there was an emergency situation that happened, that having this in place is required for us to be covered by FEMA insurance.
We would not be covered by FEMA if we had an earthquake here.
I guess, but because I thought you said it's already in place in the county.
Our plan is currently expired, so
Right.
we're working off of an expired plan right now. What this does is the longer that you delay this, we can't apply for grants so if there are grant opportunities, the longer
Okay.
this process takes, the longer it takes FEMA to actually fully adopt everything once they
Right.
get all the resolutions from.
But I guess, like, the way I read it on the FEMA website, that's for like non-emergency funding, that's for like prevent.
This is for
Yeah.
mitigating.
So like if there were an earthquake, we'd still get funding.
That's a different type of.
Okay. Okay. I move that we table this until the next meeting.
Do I have a second? Second by Counselor we have a motion to table by Counselor McMorrin, second by Counselor Gotti. All in favor of tabling?
We're gonna have a conversation with you.
Sorry, go ahead.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't think it does us any good to table this because we're gonna vote yes on it next meeting anyway. We don't have any, as far as I can tell, we had input into it, but we don't have decision-making authority on this because it's above our head. So while I agree with you, I don't see what the practical application of tabling this gonna be, just in my opinion.
I think with that, as far as that goes, the same reasoning.
Yes, I just wondered, Kelsey, if you could give us a broad idea of what the plan covers and perhaps how the new plan changed from the prior plan, if it did.
Yeah, it was a long process, so I probably can't tell you everything, but essentially what we do is go over the list of hazards that were listed in the previous plan, all of your locations, anything new that we've seen, so you'll add any kind of, if there's been new developments, new areas in town, you add all of those, and you just, as an entire group, there's a lot of input as to what's in the area, so even the Philomath plan is not just the city's input, it's the fire department, I believe the school district may have participated as well. So it's not even just the city, like city staff having that input. So essentially it's highly trained emergency management staff and professionals that are kind of going through this list and updating it. And the intention, of course, is to make sure that it's well-rounded and you're really capturing what those things that you would need to mitigate are. So that's at the heart of it. What you're trying to do is make sure that, flooding, we wouldn't want to take flooding off of the list in Philomath. Obviously, that's a very, real risk that we have here. So things like that are prioritized up higher so that we can make sure that and there's essentially action plans and things that we work on throughout the years. So Public Works has updated a lot of what we had done on the previous action plans, and we made some new actions for forward.
Approximately how long is this document?
The document itself is pretty hefty. I would say our addendum is, what would you say, it's like, how many pages would you say?
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Offices.
The last one was
Yes,
this.
the whole document is very large. Then there's the city addendum. It's pretty technical.
Well, just to respond to Councilor Lehman, you're right. I'll probably miss on this. I can't vote yes on something that I have not seen. Like that just feels like a sort of a line I don't want to cross. Because as you know, we do get lots of thick things to read.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did.
I understand your point of view completely, but I also trust the experts, and I think they probably know quite a bit more about it than I do, so I'm willing to trust them. Just saying that.
I guess one of the yes to everything, honestly. I agree with what everyone has said. And also, I guess one of the things I'm not concerned about, but one of the things I have a little worry about is like not knowing what's in it. Not that I knew what was in the previous one, but like, to approve something and then like, I guess, can we expect staff to bring up these hazard mitigations, like whenever we talk about applicable aspects of, you know, running the city and like decision making, because I think if I approve it, having not seen it, I'm concerned that, like, you know, we're all human, but like someone might forget to bring something up, and then like down the line there might be consequences, negative consequences, and I just kind of want to make sure that, you know, we have as many eyes on, or like, you know, brains on thinking about the potential hazards and how to mitigate them.
Well, what I would say, I mean, to be quite frank, is a Benton County document. And so the concern is, I mean, I totally respect what you're saying, and I respect what you're saying. The concern is this is a larger document, and we do risk them moving on, like, sorry, without us. I was not that serious about that comment. Moving ahead without us, if they have to, if they come up to a timeline and they have everyone else's documents, you know, there's a risk that they have to move forward with their document as their document. That would be my only concern. I mean, we're not going to change anything in that document at this point. And I think that's kind of what Chaz was saying. I mean,
It's more peace of mind.
we don't really have the ability to change it, but I understand your peace of mind. But that's really where this is at. It's not Philoma's plan. If it were our plan, it's a different story, but it is Benton County's plan.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm fine with not tabling it.
In our strategic plan conversations, the council talked about emergency management and emergency preparation, and it's in our strategic plan to do that. If you recall, one of the conversations we had was about inviting the county to come and talk to us about the natural hazard mitigation plan and strategies and wildfire and these types of things. This is really getting us that one step closer. And so you know, if we need to table this, so you can take a look at it and come back, I'm comfortable with that. But I guess as I agree with everybody else, I don't think it's going to change anything, right? I don't perceive that anybody in this room is going to say, "Oh, what about this?" And we're going to hold the press. We got to stop. So it's going to be what it's going to be. I think what's maybe most helpful, and maybe where the angst is a little bit, is we haven't read it. We don't know what's in it yet. We've not been exposed to it. So whatever you decide you want to do tonight, we will be working to coordinate an opportunity for Benton County to come. I think it'd make a great open house type event that we could do with the community. It probably wouldn't make for a bad work session that the planning or that the city council could have to just talk through it more of at a leadership level with Benton County officials on the plan, and pick the brains of Kevin and Gary and Chelsea a little bit more on what went into it on our addendum portion of it, as far as our facilities, our areas, our risks. So that's going to happen regardless. So I don't think this is a pass it and we're just going to forget about it. This is get this passed, get it into play so we can start working with it and bring more information. And there's clearly more that we can do on our natural hazard mitigation for the city, not just at the county level, but even within our city on things we can do to help out. So I didn't really answer anybody's questions there, but I'm just saying this isn't the final vote. That we are going to continue to work with this document, integrate it into things that we're talking about, and make it real. So.
And when we pass it, when do you think that we can get eyes on it?
I believe we can get to it now.
Yeah, I think
it's posted. It's on the county's. It's not on the county site. They've got it on FEMA site.
Yeah, we can.
Where is the draft? So we can get you a link out to it and go through it. It's just, it's a lot, right? And so I hate to task, hey, everybody read this weekend. I mean, it is a lot to go through. I'd rather have somebody come and talk us through the more relevant points with everybody. I think it'd be the best use of our time. So.
Councilor Moore?
I guess my last thing is, if the document does already exist and we can look at it, then it doesn't seem like it really makes a difference either way, whether we vote on it tonight. So I don't see why we would vote on it tonight. I guess I would just politely ask, maybe, that I would prefer to be able to read it. You don't need to read it. You don't want to. But I would really like just a chance to look at it, especially if the document's already online. I would really appreciate you have a couple weeks to look over it, and if you don't want to do that, you don't have to read it. But it's not like not approving it tonight will mean that we lose out on a ton of fun. Like, I don't think we're planning to apply for any FEMA grants grants in the next 2 weeks, so it's not, there's kind of no risk involved here.
Councilor Nelson?
Chelsea did mention about us being left behind if they vote to go on and without us
Do
on
we-
this.
I think,
So-
see if there's a.
I can like check the
Yeah.
county commission schedule, because I don't think it's on there.
Yeah, I didn't see any hard dates on here on when they need something back by,
Did you
so.
call the question on voting that,
Yep, so we have a call to question. All in favor, please raise your hand, say aye, or all in favor of tabling, the motion, please raise your hand, say aye. All opposed, please raise your hand, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, so motion to table fails. Do we actually have a motion on the table to actually pass this yet?
No.
Okay.
Just calendar wise, looking ahead, I was gonna talk with the mayor after this meeting, depending on how things went. I don't have anything hard pressing for a second meeting in April. We've got budget meetings starting up and things, so at this point, I don't foresee a need for a second meeting in April. We could bring this back in April and we could talk about it then. We could do a work session. I don't know, the county may be ready in 2 weeks. They might want a little more notice than that, but just an option. So we talked about calendar and coming next and we mentioned 2 weeks. It may be the May meeting before we would look at this again. But it sounds like we're not going that direction anyway. I just want to put a calendaring note out there to folks. Okay.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve resolution 2409, adopting the 2024 Benton County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Nelson and seconded by Councilor Cosby.
Did Diane have an objection? Did you have an objection?
No, I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
Oh, got it.
I'm good.
Sorry.
Any further discussion? Councilor Moore?
I'm gonna vote no, not because I don't like the idea, but I don't like voting on it tonight.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. Nay. Okay, motion carries. So, next we have resolution 2410, applying for a state parks and recreation grant for local governments.
Yeah, so
We have to read it.
we don't have to read resolutions. We typically read the proclamations because they're fun. Resolutions are less fun.
Well, what gets confusing is the resolutions, the proclaiming.
Chris?
So resolution 2410 is the more formal resolution that the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department requires the city council to pass to show support for applying for the grant. As I put in the memo, I got direction from the council back in February to apply for the grant. That wasn't good enough. We did provide them with a copy of the minutes from that meeting and a draft of this in the application that was due on the 1st. As kind of a placeholder, but they're expecting and hoping, and I'm hoping that I can get them a copy of this approved resolution tomorrow at the state level. So the people that make the decision making don't really even see that we didn't have the original one there in the first place. So, I mean, it'll be there, but hopefully without any delay, we can get the approved resolution in with our application packet. So hopefully no harm, no foul. It was just a matter of timing. This lays out what we're looking for. The dollar amount that I felt some comfort in was the $800,000 for an ask. Some of that will go towards grandstands, some of that will go towards the interior pathways, and some of that, a larger percentage of that will go towards the public restrooms. But I can't say we just want the grant just to pay for the restrooms. They want to see a split. We want the city has some skin in each aspect of the project. So that was what the grant application was for. So just hoping for a motion to approve the resolution. Or if there's any specific changes or any specific questions, I'm happy to answer those at this time too.
Councilor Lehman?
Yeah, it says in the title, for the development of Scriven Park and delegating authority to the city manager. And in the recommended motion, it also says and delegating authority to the city manager, but I don't see anything in the resolution that says anything about delegating authority to the city manager.
It says in the
Title.
But what's the authority that's being delegated? That's what I'm asking.
else. It's just to submit the grant. But you're right, I don't see anything there. I said, this is their template.
Well, the title says delegating authority to the city manager to sign the
Application. There's not a,
right, a whereas.
there's not a whereas clause there.
Thanks.
Councilor Andrade?
I guess I actually was gonna ask about that as well, and I'm still not quite sure actually. So can we just like take out and delegating authority to the city manager? Because like, it's kind of ambiguous, I think, like, well, I guess I'll just make the motion. I move to approve, well, no, because you still have to remove that from the resolution. Yeah, I guess it doesn't say, it only says to sign the application in the actual resolution. But then delegating authority to the city manager is what is used in the agenda item summary, correct? Yeah, well, I was just gonna, I move to approve resolution 24-10, authorizing the application for a local government grant from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for development of Skirvin Park. Authorizing the city manager to apply for a local government grant.
Motion made. Do we have a second?
I'm sorry, what?
I got lost in that a little.
Sorry, I was saying, I move to approve resolution 24-10, authorizing the city manager to apply for a local government grant from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for development of Skirvin Park.
I was just gonna move to approve resolution 24-10.
Well, let's ask if there's a second on the motion on the table.
I mean, I think it's the same thing. Cheryl seconded it. Or, oh, no, I won't apparently.
Well, it's different than.
But if I could, I think that it's confusing to make a motion to pass a resolution with changes. I'd recommend maybe make a motion to amend the current resolution.
I wasn't trying to amend the resolution because the resolution doesn't say authorizing the city manager.
So your motion would be to strike the portion of the headline that says, and delegating authority to the city.
No, it doesn't, in the actual resolution, it does not say that we're delegating authority to the city manager. It's just the motion that says that. And so I'm saying that delegating authority to the city manager is too broad.
In the title of the resolution, it says, and delegating authority to the city manager to sign the application.
Where,
The bold on the top.
yeah, but that's not, like, does that language have to match?
No.
Because that's exactly what it was said, authorizing the city manager to apply.
I think I have more of my solution.
Possibly the better action would be for the motion to be, and delegate the authority to the city manager to sign the application.
That works.
You wanna make that more?
Yes.
Wait, so is there still a motion that is on the table right now? No.
Councilor Andrade made the motion, but there was no second, so.
I move to approve resolution 24-10.
Second.
Make more in a second, by Councilor Andrade. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Aye. Motion carried. Excellent.
I apologize for the confusion on the recommended motion. I could have been more.
We got there.
I'm a little nervous about changing the template that they gave us to adopt, so.
I know.
No, that's why I was trying to amend the motion as opposed to
Right.
that. I will note that, public.
So, we have management report.
Been busy. March and April we're busy. I won't go through and try to highlight any particular thing other than had our kind of staff level kickoff meeting for the library feasibility study. Feel additional confidence in our selection there. I think that firm's going to be great. I'm working with the library staff, working with city staff. At a first meeting, they're going to do a site visit and then start talking about their first public outreach and what that's going to look like. But they're trying to just kind of gather some resources themselves and get it more familiar at this point. But yeah, excited about that project. I will note, and I don't know if it's in here or not, we did finally get a signed change order. Kevin, was this in your section? Am I still in your thunder? Sorry. We did get a signed change order for the water reservoir project, both by HP Civil, and then I signed it as well. So Kevin's working with Pivot Engineering, who will be working directly for the city to do the repairs to the slab. They've got a time frame that they're working within, and then once those repairs are done, acceptable, then we'll proceed with the final construction of the reservoir project. So I won't say that it's back on schedule, but I will say the obstacles that were on the way are been removed, and we will be moving forward with the repairs to the slab. That just finalized late last week, earlier today. So that's great news on that project. And yeah, like I said, you've got staff here, happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Council Lehman?
Yeah, I was wondering if we can get an update on the status of our TLT tax. I know we've had some issues with it at the end of the year, and just wondered if that's been resolved or if we know if it's been resolved.
It has been resolved. We received, I don't know if Mike's still on the line, I think we received the first, we didn't collect first quarter, but second, third quarter, I believe we've received. Yeah, let me bring back a better, more formal report, but if I recall, we hadn't gotten stuff. I sent an email and then we got it figured out and we were getting it. So,
And do we know how many entities there are in town that are?
there's 3 right now. Well, the VRBOs and whatnot, they don't report number of units that they have. They just report their lump sum. So they count as one, even if they have 3 or 4 houses that report to them. But we just have 2 of those, and then we've got the hotel.
Thanks.
Motel, Galaxy.
Council Causey?
I just wanted to compliment, our city manager and staff on the retirement celebration that was held for Chief Rubin. It was very well done. I'm sure you guys put a ton of work into it. So thank you very much for pulling that together.
How did you make the songs?
Very good.
Yeah. You're recording. The AI had to do that.
If you go to the city's YouTube page, under special events, there's drop-in cards for city council, planning commission. If you go to special events, I've actually posted a video there. I converted the slide presentation to video, and it has a note of the AI that I used there as part of the agreement to use the AI. We have to give credit, so it's there. So if you want to go by and look at it and re-listen to the words and everything, it's been posted, and share that link with Chief Rubin, and he was able to share it with friends and family and whatnot. So even this morning, he asked, "Do you have the lyrics written down somewhere?" Yeah.
You had to write down the lyrics and
Copy paste and sent those over to him. So yeah,
that was pretty special.
I was glad that he appreciated it. Afterwards, it's always hard doing that because you never know how over the top people want to be. And afterwards, said it was exactly what I would have wanted to be. I couldn't have thought of anything better. So he was very happy with it, which was good.
I was just curious if there was any feedback or anything. I had sent over that proposal about the tree canopies. Just with it being our Arbor Day meeting, where we were at with that.
Remind me, I think we were looking to send it to a public works committee meeting.
We hadn't gotten anything.
Yeah.
This was using GIS.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great student project to me.
Okay.
What was your hope for it? I guess.
Well, I was hoping we could talk about it tonight. That's what my email was about.
Yeah.
So I guess that was just curious where we were at then with that, but.
Yeah, I think if we had a specific, who were you proposing to do it?
I already wrote all that up and sent that out in a document.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be Public Works would look at GIS and then they would work with the tree board to identify neighborhoods and then what types of trees would go out. And then we'd send out postcards to folks in those neighborhoods, then they could pick up the tree at Public Works, plant it with a little note about sort of care and planting instructions. And I'm not saying that's how it needs to go, that's what I was hoping to get some feedback on.
I think it's worth talking about with the Public Works Committee or maybe with the tree board going through it. We already have a GIS letter or a GIS layer that has current tree canopy.
Okay.
I think if we're looking to expand or change that or do it, I think it'd be best to get some input from them. So not that your report wasn't good, but I think it'd be good to vet it out there a little bit and then bring it back to the council for a recommendation.
You're saying from the Public Works Committee or okay. I mean, I think part of the reason I had sent it over was because the entire Public Works Committee is on the Heritage Tree Committee where we had talked about this. So, we can send it to Public Works, but I think, Councilor Kazi was also requesting to, if that's what we want to do, I don't know, you're also on there. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, maybe I just need to be up to speed. I wasn't at that meeting.
Yeah, sure.
I was at a conference and I've not caught up on that completely yet. So maybe I'm just the only one out of the loop. So
Okay.
maybe give me a little bit of time to get caught up and then we can take a look at it.
And did Public Works was this a proposal from Public Works coming to the council? Because then it was going to the agenda, I think.
City council meeting.
We talked about it in strategic planning, and then we talked about it with Kevin and Gary. Supportive pending details. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that if it got recommended, staff wrote up an agenda, then I think we'd be able to have a better conversation about it.
Yeah, if you feel like you've already talked about it, then it sounds like we just need something to get in front of the council.
Yeah.
That and then we can
In an agenda.
that meeting then today.
Right. So when are we doing that? I guess is what I'm asking.
Put it on a future agenda.
Like which one?
The next one, or
Okay, cool.
the next one we have time to?
How about I move that we talk about this at the second, are we meeting in April? No, okay, then we talk about it at the first meeting in May.
Second.
Right.
Yeah, it seems reasonable, but if there's something really important, then it might have to get bumped. That's the only thing I always do. I never know what's coming up on the agenda, so.
Okay.
I
then-
still second
about it.
that
There's no
motion
reason not to.
though.
Okay.
So we have a motion on the table and seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Question. I'd like to amend the motion stating that, if the agenda time allows, I'm going to discuss.
Wait, can we even amend a motion while we're already voting on it?
Okay.
Yeah, I think the motion.
Technically it passed,
Yeah.
but, yeah, all opposed, please raise your hand, say nay. Nay, I like more flexibility, in pulling together agendas, so.
I think the point though is that we still can make that motion as a council and now it will be on that meeting because that is the rules of the council in the municipal code.
Yeah, it just passed, the motion just passed.
I know, that's what I just said.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Alright, so did you catch 5 in favor and 2 opposed?
No, I didn't.
What?
Everybody passed it except for Councilor Causing Mesa.
Okay. I think just implications, which is part of why it's important to talk about. Cycle. So which is part of what I want to do tonight before we even have budget committee meetings, but yeah.
So, any further, do you want to talk about anything else on the?
No, unless there's other questions. Okay.
I should have one question, comment, Councilor McMorrin, I think you stayed, at the senators' meeting longer than the rest of us did, and I wonder if you could just mention some of the issues that people brought forward. Not to put you on the spot, but I know there were a lot of people interested in the landfill and were concerned about the landfill.
Yes, yeah, there's discussion about landfill expansion or non-expansion and impacts. There's a lot of discussion of Israel and Palestine, specifically because Senator Markley's kind of been more outspoken than most senators with that. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything a little more specifically local.
There was some people were concerned.
Yes. Someone brought up the fact that headlights are too bright now. And it was kind of funny because he was like, I haven't heard this before. And then he was like, how many other people in the room think that? And like everyone raised their hands. But there wasn't anything, I mean, beforehand we talked a little bit about like the mill closing and that kind of stuff, but I don't think there was anything that was super prescient to Willamette.
Someone did ask about the Corvallis Clinic.
Yes, yeah. And then he didn't really answer that specific question, but yeah.
I just wondered if
No, I mean,
else that-
unless I'm forgetting something, I don't think anything else. I mean, you were there for basically the whole thing, or no?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I was there for the electeds.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of discussion of landfill and Israel and Palestine, so none of which we control. And yeah, it was a lot of, and then beyond that, it was just, a lot of like national issues and like, vote by mail and that kind of stuff, so.
Thank you.
Councilor Andrade?
I had a couple of questions. One, the YouTube stats, I appreciate them very much. I would like some clarification on the left two boxes at the bottom of the page. It says likes, and it says 15 minutes and 17 seconds. I was thinking that there would be like a number of likes there, or like, and then with the dislikes, there's a percentage, but it's like percentages of people who watched any amount of videos, or 20% of people who liked or disliked, like there aren't any numbers to know what that means, I guess. If you have any insight on that, that would be.
No.
Okay.
This report, Leilani generates this report. I'm not sure if it comes from Google Analytics or where it comes from. We don't actually pull these numbers. This is a canned report that we're able to easily grab to provide you with just a snapshot of YouTube information. I can't explain it.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. I appreciate you trying. And then I guess the other thing is that, like, I've heard from several community members of, I mean, of course, everyone is a little, I don't know, the streetscapes construction is mostly safety though this time. Just concerned about a lot of these open areas that don't have really good safety precautions to, it's easy to trip and fall, and there's some things that look like you might be able to impale yourself, and it just, do you have any insight into whether there are stricter safety measures that can be taken? I don't quite know what the legal things that like we can request.
Yeah, I can tell you that we have requested some additional safety precautions to be done. Chelsea's reached out to ODOT and voiced our concerns. We've noted the open pits and the open areas. I will say typically at night when they're done, it's not as bad, but during the day when they're there working, there's quite a bit that's open. So we have had the discussion with ODOT, and we've made the request that they look at it a little bit closer. I would say to the public, just generally stay out of the construction site area as much as you can. When you have to be there, just be very, very cautious of your surroundings, because it is a construction zone, and they can take every precaution and people can still get hurt just because you're in the wrong spot and there's a lot of construction going on. So I would just avoid the area on foot as much as you can. Still get into the businesses and shop local as much as you can, but there's a balance there, right? Obviously, if you don't feel safe, then and just be very, very cautious. But there's not a whole lot more the city can do than what we've done, which is just encourage the contractor and ODOT to be as safe as possible and encourage the public to do the same. But I get it. I mean, even driving by some of those trenches, like, oh, you know, put a guardrail up or something, because it does feel not very safe. But yeah, I appreciate you bringing it up, and we are concerned about the safety. I think when you talk to the contractor and ODOT, they're going to echo the same thing. Yes, we're very concerned as well. We're doing as much as I can. So
Just wanted to check on that, thank you.
yeah, I appreciate the concern.
And then, I have to report, I guess, for the Hope Advisory Board. They're working on fleshing out this flexible housing subsidy pool. It's like, I don't have a great grasp on it, so please correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, because I know you've been involved as well. But so they're looking at ways using that program to kind of leverage funds that are trying to make it like a flexible source to use funds from all of these different places that have certain requirements to try to house people and like address those needs according to like whatever funding they can use. So using the more structured funds first before going to the more flexible within that flexible pool. And currently they're working on rehousing about 31 households, the homeless people, by the end of June of next year with those funds. Was there anything else on that, Chris, that like, I know they have their recommendations and they're trying to align this thing, they kept saying like, we're trying to fly the plane while we're building it, basically. So they're trying to get a lot of input right now on whether what they proposed seems like it's feasible and if it's addressing needs and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good analogy on trying to fly the plane as you're building it. There's new grants that are coming available. There's new programs that are coming open. There's not so much where the money's come from, but the administrative rules on how funds can be used is still flexing and growing. So there's some programs that have been used over and over, but there's also a lot of new programs where people are still trying to figure out what the funds can be used for and what they can't be used for. So, yeah, fortunately, there's good people at the county that do this every day, and so we get to tap into what they're doing and look for opportunities for some success. So, yeah.
And then the 24-hour crisis center should be finished by summer of 2025. That's what they're scheduled for. And then on another note, I am the People of Color Caucus from the League of Oregon Cities representative for the Water Policy Committee. And so if you have things you want me to bring, let me know, please. Currently, the top 5 priorities that they're looking to take to advocate for to the legislature are increasing infrastructure funding for water and sewer treatment, basin-specific assessment reviews within the state, funding to pay for bills for low-income households, water reuse regulatory limitations, I guess talking about water recycling. There's a policy directed at DEQ, and they're trying to address those limitations somehow. I don't quite know the specifics. And then operator in training apprenticeships, because I guess there aren't enough people who are trained in running a water treatment plant. So those are the big 5 things that were common issues that were brought up during the meetings. Do you have any thoughts?
Councilor Carter?
I just want to go back to your other one, the houseless people, 30 to 31, and it's going to be over a year from now before that happens?
Sorry, it's about 31 households that homeless people they will be rehoused into, new,
They're building the houses.
yes.
Just, it's been a problem for so long. It's hard
Yeah.
to wait another year and a half for
I know.
something to happen, but.
Yeah, and like this is the stopgap funding from the governor's original bill. I don't know the numbers, but yeah, like how more rural areas didn't get any funding, and so this is the, oh yeah, just kidding, here's some money.
Couple more, you had
Oh, I had a thing myself, but I didn't, if there was anything else. For inclusivity committee / pride, etc. There was a proposal to do some training with Cahoots, which is an organization in Eugene that does like sort of mental health crisis training and de-escalation response kind of stuff. In Eugene, they're sort of a whole entity that rides along with police or goes out to crisis scenes. I'm not saying we need to approve something like that tonight for here, but there was a proposal to have the city pay for a training by Cahoots here for folks who may encounter situations where there is de-escalation needed. So this was brought forward by some of the folks who are planning Pride, but then we thought it could be applicable to beyond just that. I know, city staff has mentioned there have been times where there have maybe been situations in the lobby of City Hall that need to be de-escalated or other types of things like that. So I apologize, this was not on the agenda. This was sort of a last minute thing that came through several emails with Chris and Chelsea and Rose and I today. But we were hoping to get the council to approve some funding for open to whoever that would benefit. I think this we're working on, but we just wanted to float that.
And to clarify, Rose had said that anyone can attend. They were very insistent on, we just want to prioritize training and having as many people trained as possible, just in general. And that the range was $350 to $1,000. There weren't any specific details about like per person or per Zoom room or whatever, but like it's negotiable, and so it would be great to benefit be a benefit for the Pride event, but that is secondary to the purpose of just like having more community members knowledgeable of de-escalation and being trauma informed and such.
And we do still have funds remaining for this fiscal year in the training budget and the community events budget. So this would not be reinventing some wheel. Just Chris didn't feel comfortable having the city sign off on that without the council kind of weighing in, even though it's already budgeted for. So we just kind of wanted to get your take. Yes. Or yeah.
How's the Milton first?
Is it possible to get some sort of outline in regard to the training itself?
Let me
Because that way, making informed decisions, as you've talked about earlier, it's really important to make informed decisions. And concrete, is it $1,000 for 20 people, or is it $1,000 for 50 people?
Yeah,
Or,
we're really flexible. So
it just would like to be concrete. You talked about concrete documents, and an estimate would be really good to have. Like, I do think this is really important,
yeah.
especially with the environment we're in currently.
So they aim for midday trainings between 1100 and 1600 start time. It's between 90 to 100 minutes depending on the length of the Q&A and debrief at the end, and they can do weekends or later in the day if you need to make it accessible to folks who work. And then they can provide more information, but they need a little more information from us about sort of what we'd be looking for. and then they can kind of tailor the training to our group. But it's sort of a general, you know, crisis de-escalation and like trauma-informed mental health training.
And may I ask another question?
Yeah.
So, what is the Inclusivity's vision of who they would think would need that most within our city? Or, I mean, are you talking about city staff? Are you talking about emergency like police and fire? Are you talking about average community members? What was the directive when the committee met? What was the directive that they were focusing on?
I think as Councilor Andrade mentioned, the hope was specifically for volunteers at some of these. So like, you know, police already go through DPSST, not that they couldn't benefit from this, but I think this was for like community volunteers, or if there are city staff that are interested and don't already go through a training like that, or just the general community at large. I think Cahoots' mission is just to sort of, you know, spread this as far and wide as they can. So they're happy to get as many folks as they can. But that was sort of what had come up at the committee meeting, was for volunteers who are, you know, maybe in situations where there may be escalation, but it's an open door.
And can you get us an outline of their outline of what they would be presenting that day, or an overview?
Well, I think I need some approval here to say that, so that I can get that to like, that we will have approximately this many people at this time, and this is what we're hoping to. I mean, like I said, I think it's pretty flexible. So like, they will teach us what we would like to know around de-escalation and whatever would be most beneficial to our community. But I'm always happy to get more information. I think it's just sort of chicken and egg a little bit. If I need you to say this is something we're interested in, so I can work with Rose on that, and then
Based on what I can tell, it sounds like Rose is confirming that. She told me that she would be available to check in with.
Oh, right. Yeah. The other thing is just, I thought we were going to meet again in April. So I didn't have everything prepared for tonight, but now I think we do kind of like, this is a little more time sensitive. So yeah.
Do you think that we could, if you said, it sounds like there's interest, and I don't know, what do you think? Is 5 to 20 people is probably the target number of people that you would?
Yeah.
Reasonable?
I mean, it's way more than that.
I mean, I don't know who all would show up, but yeah.
Well, I mean, and it doesn't have to be in person too. That was the main
Yeah.
thing.
So
That's more expensive.
If you just develop like a conceptual thing that seems realistic, and then propose it to them, I don't know, if you think it's 5 to 50 people, like,
Yeah.
and then ask them, well, if this is what we do, then how much might it cost? And then just bring that back to us.
Yep. I can work on that with Rose. I think, just as a reminder, like, this money is already set aside in the budget for training and community events. So I'm not like asking for a new line item in the budget or an adjustment or anything. It was more just a vibe check with the council of like, here's a training for a community event. Can we spend training and community event money on it? But yeah.
I'm sorry, Councilor Crocker.
I am very much supportive of this. I have heard of Cahoots for some time now. There's been some articles and write-ups nationally about, and Eugene is the example for everyone to follow. So I think we should get in on this and start this as a possibility, and I would love for us to then maybe try to get someone on staff, on police, something like that, that can, it's different than the police because they are less threatening in some ways to some people, and people having a mental health crisis, they will come in and help them. But I almost feel like someone in that role needs to be a little more professional than just a volunteer that goes to a training. So I would advocate that we start with the training and the volunteers, whoever would come, but then that we seriously look at perhaps adding an employee to do something like that.
So an option for the council tonight might be to authorize up to a certain amount of money for the training and not have that be a target, but have it be a ceiling to say, hey, up to this amount, we're comfortable with this type of training, we'll work through the details. We can still bring something back. I think the training could be after the next meeting, but if we don't start talking about what that training's gonna look like until May, we're gonna be kind of a little bit close for an event. We want the training ahead of time for, so the council might consider putting a motion on the table to approve up to a certain amount for this type of training. And then I can continue to work with Christopher and Rose and Councilor Andrade on the details and timing and all that kind of thing. And I could approve that once I felt like we were getting a good deal and it was something we could move forward with.
The idea is to do this before Pride, is that what I'm hearing now?
Yes.
I didn't realize that, okay.
And is that virtual and in person or just virtual only?
That's one of their questions. They can do whatever we'd like.
Okay, thank you.
I see from the minutes of the inclusivity committee that you're also requesting a $350 budget for the Pride event.
I don't think we are requesting that tonight. We talked a little bit through that, and I think when I say we, sorry, I mean I talked to Rose earlier today, and I think we felt it made more sense for the council to directly sponsor like a training like this that will benefit the event, but will also benefit the city as a whole, as opposed to direct monetary. It gets a little tricky because Pride is not a legal entity. So like when we support some other things like PYAC or the school district or Philadelphia Community Services, we can cut a check to an entity and they can cash it. We can't do that with Pride because there's no separate legal entity. We don't want to just send a check to a private citizen. So we felt this would make a little more sense, would be to have the city kind of sponsor some of these things like this training that can help benefit and waive like fees for, park use, and, if Public Works needs to help like empty trash bins afterwards or something, like those are things the city can do as kind of in-kind things, and then these broader things that will support the event, but it will also support the city as a whole. So that's, I think, where we're kind of at right now. There's also, it's easier to get outside sponsorships for some of the, for decor or bouncy houses, just to name something. So I think that was part of the thought, is it's easier to get, private donations, company donations for some of those things, whereas things like this training and the, facilities, that's something the city can help with. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, Rose was clarifying that whatever was reported, it was like the minimum amount for cahoots.
Yeah, right.
So like it's not in addition to, it's like at least that.
Yeah, and I think if I remember from the meeting, that wasn't necessarily saying that like they wanted to request that budget from the city. I think I had just asked like, what is the total amount that we think this event will cost, whether or not the city is paying for it. Just like what amount of money will be spent, just because I was kind of curious. But yeah.
That was definitely just I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Here's a number.
Yeah.
I will put on the table. I mean, I think that the Pride event, our inclusivity committee has been up and running for several years now. There's a lot of good happening there. They've made proclamations. We've got banners going up. We've got the Pride event. I think everybody has a desire to feel like they belong, and I think the Pride event is a good way of doing that as the community. Councilor McMorton had pitched the idea months ago, I think even during last year's budget, of that $2,000. There's a motion to get up to $5,000. It stayed $2,000. We checked with Mike. It's still at $2,000. So there's $2,000 in the budget for supporting community events. One of the concepts we talked about was specifically to target startup events, new events, right? So this wouldn't be money to go to the Frolic and Rodeo, right? They're upgoing. They've got revenues coming in, et cetera. But for new events, trying to get started, trying to generate new sponsors, I think that's a great place for the city council to put some money to help these new events to go forward, kind of regardless of what the event is. And it's not a lot of money. We could put a cap on that so that not all the money goes to one event per year. But I think over time, I'd like to work with Councilor McMorrin to develop kind of more of a program that could fit there. But we don't have time for this year. And so I think, I would recommend the council consider, in addition addition to money for the training event, also putting some money on the table to support the Pride event. We're not gonna charge for rental. The city's gonna cover kind of general liability insurance so that the entity that doesn't really exist doesn't have to, some individual that's a volunteer doesn't have to fork out money for those types of things. I think the city could really step up and put some money from the community support funding, the $2,000 that's in the budget, to put it towards this event and let the organizers use it, whether it be for food or for whatever expenses come up. So that would be up in addition to what we would be doing for training that would help support the volunteers putting on this event and other volunteers throughout the community that were interested in that. So I think a lot more could be done, and I'm not just spending the money willy-nilly, but I think that, again, this is year 3, and I think the organization could really use some support financially to get the project up and going, or get the program up and going, get this event up and going, so it can gain some additional private sponsors, donors to help support in the future.
Along those ideas, that was what I wanted to talk about, was to start thinking about putting money for the inclusivity. I mean, we spent some money on the Black History Month, and we did on the Indigenous people, just as a thank you to the speakers. I think we need to make that a little more concrete, and I think it would be great if through our budgeting process we could put a dollar amount for the inclusivity to do these celebrations that we would like to do. I would hesitate doing it just for one event. I would like to see it spread over maybe 5 different events, and we perhaps have a way of making the decision which 5 we're going to support that year and change it around, because this is something that we're wanting to do, but without money behind it, and I'm not sure where the money's coming from for the speakers. It was really nice to do that, but
Well, the speakers, it's coming out of the training and education budget that the city council set aside. So we set aside $10,000 this year for education and training. Some of that was the training that the city council and some of the staff went through, but some of it's been used for the community training that's been going on, educational opportunities. So that's where the money for the speakers is coming from, is that pot as
can
well.
we make a different pot to go specifically for that rather than taking it out of training, or no?
Well, we can have that discussion during budget, but we can have those discussions for
That's
sure.
what I'm saying. Let's start thinking that way.
Yeah. But this money I'm talking about is $2,000 that the city council set aside for community support. And I believe Councilor McMorrin, at the time the budget was set, his focus was on community support for events. I think we talked about the event that the mayor paid out of pocket for during Memorial Day, right? And then we talked about the Pride event, and so there were some of these like new events that we're trying to get up and going. We didn't have the money to support them, so we put money into the budget to support them. Then we've not spent any of that money this year because people don't know to come and ask for it. Now we've got an event that the city's sponsoring that could use the money, and the money's sitting there. So that's my recommendation: is let's go ahead and spend some of that money on an event that the city's supporting.
So do you need a motion? Is that what you're asking for?
I think I've recommended 2 different motions.
I do have a motion. I think being somewhat early in the year, I'm just a little hesitant to give all of the funds in that whole, because we have the rest of the year.
It's late in the year.
That's true. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Till June.
So that being the case, and we'll have a carryover. Okay. Can I make a motion then? I'd like to make a motion to assign $750 for the training, the Cahoots training, and $250 for the Pride event, totaling $1,000.
So we have a motion on the table by Councilor Nielsen, seconded by Councilor Kazi. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Kazi.
Thank you.
Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
I guess I have a question. Is there a specific reason why you would like to split it up that way, as opposed to just allowing us to figure out like if training ends up being closer to 1,000?
I just don't, personally, if you're asking my own opinion, personally, I don't want to make a precedent that any one organization would have all of the funds for one particular year. In the future, if another, like next year, if someone, well, the entire funds were given.
No, she's asking about the 250s.
Oh, that way I just would have some, I just wanted to use half of the funds, and is what I was aiming for, which is why the 750, 250 balance. And they didn't say 350 to 1,000, so 700 is closer to the 1,000 maximum.
Councilor McMorrin?
I guess the only thing I'd say to that is like, it may be more helpful to just, yeah, I mean, just because, again, from talking to Rose, like, if everything else gets covered by private donors and sponsorships, then I don't think we need to set aside $250 for general costs.
Why don't you make a motion to amend?
Amend that.
Well, okay, I just wanted to explain that,
Yes.
yeah. I guess I move that we amend the motion to just be $1,000 to support the de-escalation and.
I'll second that too.
Okay. Question?
How many members of the city council, to put you all on the spot, would have an interest in attending the training that's been discussed?
Depends on timing, date,
Oh, that's
duration.
true.
That's an interest.
Yeah.
Interest.
It shouldn't depend on.
So if there's interest on the council, then to me, in my mind, the reason that I would still potentially split would be different line items in the budget, right? So give me some direction. If it's training and education, it's training and education. We had $10,000. We've still got some money left there after all the training that we've done, everything else there. So that'd be one line item. The community support was kind of the target for events and money for general events. So you've got like a $2,000 line item budget there. It's all in your city council budget. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter a whole lot other than for me to know where I'm pulling the money from. Is it education and training, or is it all just community support? And if we're comfortable with 1,000 from community support, that's fine. An aspect doesn't really feel like community support. It feels like education and training.
What if we said 1,000 and then up to 1,000 that you can draw it from, whichever is appropriate? Okay. In either one of those two. They're both available.
Yeah, I don't know,
If I may, there's another thing that we've been trying to get sponsored, and that's what's called the Zen Den. And that is a kind of low sensory area. So if people are a bit overstimulated by people and sound and etc., then they have a quiet place. Last year it was this really cool like pop-up tent with little what are words, things hanging from a tapestries. Yeah, there were some plants and a fountain, pillows, and just ways for people to like relax and chill out and stuff. And it sounded like people really loved it, and I think they wanted to expand. I don't know how much you remember about like what the plans are for expanding on that, but like if
I think last year was just sort of a canopy. This year it's going to be the shelter in the back of the park. But I thought there was some discussion having Benton County Health kind of take that over. Is that
potentially? But there's a lot going on. But I know that Rose has expressed that as like if you wanted.
Point of order. I'd like to support these activities, but I don't want to spend this.
Yes.
Figure out how
Yeah.
to plan your
I
love what you're doing.
That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to explain the community support aspect of the training and whether or not, like, what the funds would look like. Potential examples for you to figure out what you think you would like to support.
I move that we allocate $1,000 from training and education for de-escalation and cahoots training, and $250 from community event support for.
Let me pause you there. So there's a motion on the
Order,
table.
there's a motion on the table.
Oh, I guess I was amending my, sorry, because my amendment never got a second, right?
Right.
So that's amending that.
So maybe just restart. Motion to amend.
I move that we amend the motion to have $1,000 out of education and training for Cahoots de-escalation training, or up to $1,000. And up to $250 from community event support to support the Pride event costs.
Question, do we have funding in the, 1,000 in the training left over? You said we have other training during the year. Do we have 1,000 left to do that?
I don't know off the top of my head. But we're gonna be close. But I'm comfortable with that motion. Mike's probably kicking his desk right now, but without having it right in front of me, I think $1,000 we're probably okay there. And if we're close, we can, like I said, the budget's approved for the city council department, right? So if one item goes over a little bit, that's okay. We'll just come under in another line item and it'll be okay. I don't think we're gonna spend the $2,000 for community support between now and the end of June, so we're gonna be fine on the department level. I think the amendment is fine, physically speaking.
Can I ask who's?
Yeah, we have a motion to amend by Councilor Warren, seconded by Councilor Andrade.
Was that the same, McMorrin and Andrade on your first?
My first motion to amend never got a second.
You never got a second?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So any further discussion of the motion to amend? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. So motion to amend passes. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, all opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. Okay, motion carries unanimous.
Yes. Since Councilor Andrade was kind enough to talk about her LOC committee, I feel like I should talk about mine. I'm on the transportation committee. We're trying to put together a priority list of agenda items to present to the legislature in the long session. Most people seem to be in favor or want to have a good conversation about vehicle miles traveled tax. Some people think that that's going to be in lieu of the gas tax, and some people believe that that's going to be in addition to the gas tax. That's a major topic of discussion. Also, e-bikes, for whatever reason, I guess someone died in Bend because they were going 30 miles an hour on an e-bike, and a minor, and so now there's a bunch of discussion about rules and regulations about e-bikes, which then leads to discussions about rules and regulations about where do they go on the bike lanes with regular pedal bikes? Do they go on the roadway? There's a lot of stuff going on here in the transportation world. The golf cart suggestion that we've already talked about here, also on the list. Only thing that's really not on the list is any discussion about capacity of the transportation network. Although there's a lot of discussion about how many more houses we can build and how we can expand our urban growth boundaries and all this other stuff, there's not really anything to address the actual capacity of the transportation system. But anyway, the reason I was bringing it up is that we will be asked as a city council to vote on our priority lists, and then the LOC will present those to the legislature and act accordingly. So nobody likes to talk about transportation, but keep it in your brain because there's going to be a list of stuff coming shortly.
You like talking about transportation?
I like talking about transportation.
Nielsen?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Some communities are also discussing those scooters, you know, the electric, I don't know the name of it,
Yep.
but there's a little different one.
Ride share kind of
Yes,
things.
and those and the safety measures on those, is that something that's being discussed as well?
Absolutely. I didn't mention that one, but it is. There's some of the larger cities have those systems in place. There's some really awesome benefits and some really unawesome things about it as well. I haven't seen one that's been implemented that's lasted in the state anyway. I mean, I've seen them in other places around the country, but I haven't seen one that's been sustained around here. So they do have a bike share program that evidently works very well in Eugene. But as far as like those electric scooters that you can just like scan your app, and they're kind of fun. I did it in Denver, but I haven't seen one that's lasted in Oregon. Yeah. But it is a topic, yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if it was pertinent. It'll be on the list.
Any further council reports? All right. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for being so patient.
You're my kind of guy.
When's you coming up?
Ask for this office.
With that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you all. And have a great night.